welcome back to another edition of Inside Great Lakes Skiing. My name is Greg Norman, your host. We've been gone a little bit over the last few weeks. We had a chance to spend some time in Cortina checking out the Olympics, and we had some fun there. We're going to bring a report to you next week with all the video and conversations we had there. This week, we wanted to get out kind of a short version of the program, but wanted to bring it back to you because we've been gone for a better part of a couple of weeks. Some housekeeping to deal with. First and foremost, if you're not familiar, Terry Middleton, if you're not familiar with who Terry is, he was a longtime Boeing employee who basically ran Big Sky, and he is the sort of the father of Big Sky. Started at the front desk, ended up as the general manager. And we talked to Stephen Kircher from Boeing earlier this week, and just passed our condolences on, because if you've ever spent any time at Big Sky, you know how good a guy Terry was, and he was one of those bottoms-up ski racers that came from the old days, and he'll certainly be missed and gone at the age of 68. Second thing we wanted to mention, this happened out west, and it also came back to Cabernet this past week. We're showing you some pictures and some video. Stealing skis and stealing ski equipment at ski resorts has become a big issue this winter. Here's the pictures of a couple of guys. One guy that took some stuff at Cabernet. We're going to put his picture up. I know it's been all over the internet. We're hoping that we can catch up with this guy. You got to figure with skis being, some of the new ones now are $1,200, $1,400. It becomes a felony. But somebody walking off of somebody's skis when they go up north, there's been lots of switches where maybe I have a pair of this and I grabbed the wrong pair, and that's a mistake. But there's also a bigger number of, at least online, of folks stealing skis. So let's get out there and be diligent, lock up our skis, use those ski corrals. Most importantly, let's turn in the guys that we find that are stealing our equipment. Maybe we can get them put back where if they're supposed to be put. And the last one, we're going to talk to some guys that are putting a documentary film together on Wong. We had Wayne on the show last year, and Wayne is a real interesting character. He's the father of freestyle, and you can debate that discussion. But the guys from Black Rhino out in Vancouver are putting together a Kickstarter program to try to build a film that will end up debuting next year at Sundance. And we want to get a chance to help those guys out. So we talked to Danny Barish, who's the guy shooting the documentary. If you don't get a chance to take a look at anything else, look at some of the Black Rhino's documentary stuff. If they do something on Wayne, I think it'll be terrific. And we hope that you'll follow that. And I think it'll be fun to watch and kind of take care of it. Coming up next is Heidi Ettinger, who had women, a ski summit for women, was at Pine Knob recently. We had a chance to talk to Heidi. She was actually the third guest ever. She is the premier, and I say that with my own words, she is the premier female ski instructor for PSIA, probably in the country. And I think she's one of the best. And I think you get an interesting take at her version of the process of taking a sort of a clinic lesson. She's now working her way into the men's side of the gender. And we talked to Heidi. We also talked to three folks that took some lessons for her that I think talk very highly of her. We've got that. We've got Brenda Berglone talking a little bit about technique. And certainly we're going to bring the deal with Danny and the folks from Black Rhino on Wong. There's a deadline of a couple of days that they're trying to build a Kickstarter program to get the movie off the ground. And they could help. Will be appreciated. So we'll be back with Heidi in just a couple of seconds, and so stay tuned. Appreciate it. Wanted to thank Heidi for spending some time with us, and I think it was an interesting discussion on sort of skiing and women and all the stuff that goes in those women's summits. So take a look at that. Up next are folks from Black Rhino, and they're going to talk a little bit about the Wong movie that's coming up, and we hope that you'll take some time to look at the website and maybe help them out. This is all got to be done in the next 3 or 4 days. We'll be back in a second.
across the entire United States, as you can hear from my voice. I had a couple of days recently at Hunter in some of the negative 25-degree wind chill days with a strong gust. But I'm back here in Michigan, where I found a lovely situation with the camaraderie of pros and recreational skiers. And I've been running some programming for women, as well as women and men, in enhancing their ski skills.
You're one of the preeminent ski instructors in America. What do you find, regardless of gender, what do you find that sort of, in an intermediate level, what do you find the biggest mistakes?
Well, actually, we could look at them as mistakes. I prefer to look as opportunities, or tuning in a little bit more deeply to the type of skiing and conditions and trails that attract you most to being outside in winter. And one of the most amazing things that I discovered on the chairlift today was that there were several people who are here with me right now who have learned to love winter in this area because of taking up skiing. Some of them are relatively new. Some of them have been skiing the past couple of years. Some of them have been skiing for a very long time. But one thing that's a common thread between all of them is enhancing their skills a little at a time. And we know from the research that there are lots of ways to deliver feedback and lots of ways to provide coaching, which build on things that are deeply important to people about why they're spending time outside in winter.
If I mention the word balance, that covers a lot of ground, but if you've got some balance, you could probably be fairly successful as a skier.
And we did a couple of activities to demystify a couple of the ways that people choose to balance on their gear. We did that using the reflection of standing outside the lower part of the lodge today, and a couple of hopping foot-to-foot activities that help people find a stance for them that basically connects them better to the snow while they're moving, but isn't necessarily a carbon copy of the person next to them, but highly individualized to how their anatomy is special to them.
You're going across the country. Is there regionalism in skiing, or is it pretty much the same thread and the same lessons as you move through?
Well, I would say that the most common question I get about snow is whether the snow is different in different parts of the country. In terms of finding regional differences, much like the fact that snow is snow, you're going to have firm days, you're going to have soft days, you might have new snow. I think that the common threads across the country are that more and more people find with getting involved in snow sports, it's a lot about the community of people that they get to see on the hill day to day, and the friendships, sometimes lifelong friendships, that they make on the hill. So far beyond skillfulness is just enjoying time with friends and family.
Last question. You had literally some female-only drills. Is it based on anatomy, or is it just something that the lessons in the news and all the research has taught us?
Well, actually, during the time that we did have some all-female clinics, a little bit of that did look at some of the differences in anatomy and some of the areas where a little bit more attention paid to how women connect themselves to the snow through their gear, and working with companies like Blizzard Technica and their Women to Women program in looking at gear that has been specifically designed by women for women, and some of the ways that actually helps women connect with snow and across all levels of skillfulness from beginner to expert skiers.
You're obviously a part of this class as well here at Pine Knob, and just talk briefly about your experience.
Yeah, I had a really great experience with Heidi last year. This is only my third full season skiing, so I'm also compared with Angela. I'm more experienced, but I'm still a beginner. Last year I really feel I benefit a lot from the class. I really enjoyed it, but my skill level wasn't so great. This year I do feel by practicing the drills by myself I improved, and by coming back to the class I have a little different understanding and more confident to applying these drills into the ski. So I really enjoy it. I plan to come back every year if Heidi's here. And
Talk briefly about the camaraderie of having all women, or a lot of women in part of the group. That's got to be a somewhat secure feeling when you're learning something, yes?
Yeah, I had a woman clinic a few weeks ago with her. It was really nice because a woman can share a little bit more on ski, and being a mom, how we balance the spare time and different type of feeling and sharing. And also, Heidi mentioned a woman is not just a small size of man, so we're physically also a little different. So it's interesting. I plan to come to the women clinic if I have time every Tuesday. We have it every Tuesday.
Just any thoughts on the class with Heidi today?
Oh, well, it was amazing. First of all, she's an amazing person, and her knowledge in skiing, just learning techniques, forms, equipment, learning how to use your equipment, it's just amazing. She's a wonderful instructor.
I mean this in the best way, but should it be just skiers, or should there actually be something special for women that's different than everybody else?
Well, today we had men and women in our clinic, but like yesterday we did a clinic that was all women, and she does have a lot of techniques that are specific for women that helps. Obviously women's bodies are different than men, and we move and bend and do things differently, so she was great at teaching us how to do that, how to use those.
And you've only been on skis a few times. I think investing the time with Heidi is enormous, and I think you'll find that to be true as you move through the process.
Absolutely.
But what do you know now that you didn't know when you started this morning or even yesterday?
Oh my gosh, I think it's a little bit, I don't know what I don't know, but I think Heidi giving us the basics and really giving us routines and simple, accessible exercises that we can repeat, and really tuning in with our own body and really teaching us to be our own coach is so empowering, and that's what I love about Heidi's classes.
Self-medicate to some extent, being able to correct a mistake when somebody else is not around to be able to fix that.
Yeah, and really being able to feel what is going to lead us and to make the best decisions given the terrain, given where we are, given our skill level. I think that is really valuable.
When somebody has only been around skiing a number of times, why do you think investing in this kind of, what brought you to investing in this kind of opportunity? Because it's expensive. No, let me ask a better question. I don't want to say that. You've only been on skis a few times, and you're investing money into something that everybody should do, which is learn how to process before they buy $1,000. Well, this is way too long of a question. What brought you?
I think the best thing to do is to invest in lessons, and if you're fortunate enough to be around Heidi and to be able to have her as your teacher, as your first teacher, what a blessing. But to be able to learn skiing the correct way, or to have someone explain your anatomy, what it feels like, what you should be feeling on the slopes, what's going to feel correct, to give you the confidence that you really have to, again, take any terrain. I have done some terrain today that I never thought I would do as a beginner skier, and Heidi makes it easy. She makes it fun.
For confidence.
Yeah, and really building that confidence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll cut that so it actually makes sense.
A simple tip to help anyone improve their skiing is proper arm position. You want your hands in front, arms relaxed. A common mistake is when a skier pole plants, they drop their hand by their thigh. After you pole plant, which is very important, it's the timing device in your turns. You want to plant and leave your hand there. If I drop my hand by my thigh, my weight goes back, my skis flatten out, and I lose my power, because that takes you out of the angulated position to keep your weight over your ski edges. It's such an easy fix. All you need to do is plant the pole and leave your hand there. It's just the flick of the wrist, not up here with tight shoulders, not down here, just relaxed out in front. So just that simple tip of where your hands are will make such a difference to keep you in the athletic position and help you make good carved turns.
Wanted to thank Heidi for spending some time with us, and I think it was an interesting discussion on sort of skiing and women and all the stuff that goes into those women's summits. So take a look at that. Up next are folks from Black Rhino, and they're going to talk a little bit about the Wayne Wong movie that's coming up, and we hope that you'll take some time to look at the website and maybe help them out. This is all got to be done in the next 3 or 4 days. We'll be back in a second.
I've waited 65 years to tell my story, and Danny and Ryan are going to give it to you.
Hey, I'm Danny.
I'm Ryan.
We are the founders of Black Rhino Creative. We make documentaries about great people.
And for the last 2 years, we've been developing a movie about someone you may know named Wayne Wong.
Oh, my God! The father of freestyle skiing.
You just go and boogie and do your own thing on the hill. So what brought you to Vail?
Wayne Wong.
The movie is called Ski the Wong Way because he and his friends invented an entire freestyle culture.
It was more than that. It was a movement, a lifestyle. It connected to so many people.
And now we're heading into a big moment.
Yeah, this winter we're launching our big crowdfunding campaign, and we can't do it without you. Tell your friends. Help us make this movie.
We'd love for you to be part of this next chapter and be on this journey with us.
Welcome back. We're having an interesting conversation. We're putting this up, and the 1st of March is the deadline. Danny Barish is a great filmmaker from Vancouver, working on a project, a documentary about the great Wayne Wong, who was on our show last year. You're trying to put together financing and funding for a documentary about his life. And we're talking to you from Vancouver, and you're a part of the Black Rhino documentary film company, which is, I had a chance to look at some of the stuff you guys have done. It's just absolutely first class, Danny. And I welcome him to come to Inside Great Lakes Skiing and just kind of give us a gist of the project of the 4 days left of this project.
Well, thank you so much for all those compliments. Yeah, I mean, I first came across Wayne's picture right here. I've got the classic Wong banger, poster that everyone had on their walls growing up in the 70s and 80s. And I was like, who is this guy? He looks like Bruce Lee on skis. And the more we kind of started doing some research, oh my God, this guy grew up. Our office is in North Burnaby in Canada. And I'm looking at the same mountains that he looked at when he was a kid. I teach my kids how to ski on the same mountain that he learned how to ski. So I felt like there was a connection there for sure. And the more I learned about Wayne, the more I realized that there needed to be a film made on him. And so we just kind of called him up and met him. And if you've met Wayne, he is the most gracious person on the planet. And there's a reason why, he's been around for so long is because he's a nice guy. And he's just this personable character. So we just really wanted to kind of center the whole film around him. And just make this incredible kind of freestyle movie origin story.
When I think of Wayne, we always have this conversation, the greatest of all time. You think of that, Tom Brady as a quarterback. Being first matters, not necessarily being the best. Wayne was the first freestyler of note that we can remember. And I think the kinds of things he did on skis were pretty amazing. All those K2 skis that he had on, and we all emulated him or tried to emulate him. We were racers, but we could never do the Wayne Wong kind of deal, but he was absolutely amazing. And I think, again, being first, you wouldn't have the X Games. You wouldn't have a lot of the freestyle and a lot of the jumps and a lot of the stuff that happens. And I think that's probably part of what you're going to cover on the documentary, I would assume.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, that's a subject of debate, whether Wayne was the father of freestyle skiing. I think you can point to a whole bunch of other, pioneers in his kind of era. You've got Stein Eriksen, you've got, Jean-Claude Keely, you've got, Bobby Burns, and you've got Wayne Wong and a host of other kind of characters. These were all kind of the pioneers kind of making it all happen. But I think what's not in dispute is the fact that Wayne was really the face of freestyle skiing. And it's really kind of interesting because if you go to the US Ski Hall of Fame, you just kind of scroll down, and it just, no one looks like him. And there's a reason why, he was this enigmatic character. He just kind of he was was a good-looking guy. He had a shock black hair. He had those Valen glasses, and he just became the face of this freestyle movement. And so, yeah, we're really excited to be a part of this project.
Well, two of the skiers you mentioned, I guess I'm going to show my age at this point. I've had a chance to interview Jean-Claude Keely in the later part of his career. He was a racer, pure and simple, and racers don't freestyle. And Stein Erickson was actually here in Michigan at Boyne Mountain after he'd had his great Olympic opportunities. And I was a smaller kid, and he used to come down. It was paid to come down the hill every hour on the hour, and he would do a flip. But by no administration and no way, there's no way he was a freestyler in the way that Wayne was. Certainly a very stylistic skier. But I think part of being the first was Wayne was on Wild World of Sports back in the day, and he was one of the first guys we ever saw do the kinds of ballet and the kinds of things that he did. And I think that's why we had an interest in having a conversation with him. And like you said, if you meet him, he's a very terrific personality. So at this point, you've got to have seed money for your project. I'm not going to ask you how much is. I don't think that's anybody's business. But how far along are you in the process?
Well, right now we're almost very close to getting to our 100K goal of 100K Canadian, which is a steal right these days. We're very close to kind of getting that development money, and we're going to use that to kind of take that to broadcasters and say, hey, we've raised a whole bunch of money. We've got a great audience who wants to see this movie. Now fill in the gap and kind of get us to the finish line. And we've already had, a lot of interest from, we're talking to ESPN and a host of other people as well. So the Kickstarter campaign is really, it's going to be used as a catapult to kind of give this this whole movie and funding campaign a platform.
For a professional documentary film company like yours, is that where a lot of these projects start from? Is the Kickstarter and various to get the funding? Is that where a lot of this now goes?
You know what, Greg? This is the first and maybe the last time I actually do a Kickstarter campaign.
Okay.
I've never done a Kickstarter campaign. It is an incredible amount of work to be a quote unquote content creator. It is a young man's game. You got to be, at it every single. I've been up every morning at 3:30 in the morning for the past month, just like thinking about this campaign day in, day out. Yeah, we're looking forward to the finish line.
If you don't hit the finish line, everything goes away and it's a done deal. Is that a fair point?
Yeah, if we do not hit our goal of 100K by the end of this week, yeah, it all goes back to people's pockets, and then we have to kind of start from ground zero and kind of see where we land.
Where would a project?
We're close.
No, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that, and that's why we're talking to you, because we want to be able to help you get across that threshold. Where does this kind of documentary? Is it a YouTube deal? I know you're talking with ESPN, but is this a time frame? Does the time of the event documentary relate to the kind of information, or you set in at an hour, or do you have broadcast requirements?
I think this is a feature-length documentary, at least an hour. I think I'd like to launch this in the States, because I think this is a U.S. story. I feel like he got a lot of his success from in Waterville, and I think it's just like he's just, yeah. You can cut that out, but yeah.
No, and I get that. Last question, and that is, if all of it goes correctly, when can we see, if again everything is perfect and in place, when do we look at a potential airing?
Oh, yeah. When do we see? Okay, so I'd love to get a rough cut in the door for the next Sundance, which would screen in Boulder, Colorado next year. That would be a dream come true, I think, because we were there. We launched this Kickstarter campaign at the last year of Sundance in Park City, and it'd be a great kind of transition to go to Boulder.
Was the kickoff also related to having around the Olympics, so you get a little more notoriety with skiing?
Yeah, I think people are definitely skiing and winter sports is definitely in the atmosphere, and I think people are seeing that it's still an exciting sport to watch. And I think, from my perspective, seeing how the history of it and how far along it's come and how it's a complete different sport at this point right now is really, really, really incredible. But there's a whole generation of people, who don't know that. And I think it's really, really, really important to kind of share that.
It's amazing at my age when I start talking with racers that we still coach and things, and just the cultural aspects they don't know. I had to explain who Johnny Mosley was to a bunch of high schoolers this year, and the only way to make the point was to pointing out to them that he was a host at Saturday Night Live. So
Right.
his iconic ski career didn't have the value that his one night on Saturday Night Live did, but that's the world we live in, and I think that's kind of your point. So I appreciate your opportunities. We'll stay with this if we get this opportunity. We'll come back in September when we start back up for our third season, and we'll definitely follow this, and hopefully you get to your number and we get Wayne on the big screen.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about it. We are going to make this movie no matter what. So, it's going to happen. The momentum is here. So, yeah, we're just excited to be a part of it.
Appreciate it. And if you don't know anything about Black Rhino documentary films, check it out on the internet because I did check it out and it's some fabulous stuff. You guys do great work. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me.
I'll never forget the day I nearly died. I was a young journalist with a great career, starting a family. The only way we found out I had any kind of heart issue was when I went into sudden death. My coworkers sprung into action. They've recently been trained in life-saving CPR protocols developed by the American Heart Association. They're the ones that kept me alive until the medics came. They did many tests on me in the hospital after my cardiac arrest and created a treatment plan, all with research from the American Heart Association. I think unless you are a heart disease patient, you may not know how much work the American Heart Association does behind the scenes to save your life. Since my cardiac arrest, I've had 2 more children. I've watched all 3 of my children grow into adulthood. I'm gonna cry now. Graduate from college. My daughter got married. I have grandchildren. And I'm still here.
Learn more about the American Heart Association's work at helpheart.org.
A shorter version of Inside Great Lakes Sailing this week, but I think we give you some good information. Hopefully we'll be back next week with some of our Olympic coverage, as well as we're headed back up north for the last 2 weeks of the season to enjoy some of the spring skiing that comes with not being involved in coaching racing and all the other things that we do. We'll have that conversation, and we will be back hopefully within inside of a week and a half. And we have 2 more shows on tap for 2026. We've already started our sailing season, so we'll get back into that. We just posted a program with Inside Great Lakes Sailing with Steve Erickson. If you're not familiar with Steve, I'll just say this much: 2 World Cup championships, 5 America's Cups, gold medal, and a star champion, world champion on 2 occasions. So quite a resume. With that, for another show, for another time. We hope the snow stays hard and we enjoy you spending some time with us, and we'll see you next week.